Hello and welcome. Absolute Batman, written by Scott Snyder and illustrated by Nick Dragotta, is DC's latest attempt to reinvigorate that mainstream hero. Or, if you're cynical, an effort to further capitalize on their most popular property. In a general sense, this Absolute lineup adds life to the DC multiverse by establishing an official, Elseworlds type of setting. There will be a number of ongoing series in this shared universe, using DC's most well-known characters. In my opinion, it's really hard not to see this as DC's version of Marvel's Ultimate Universe. I doubt I'm alone in that observation. To make this setup even more convoluted, the Absolute lineup is part of the DC All-In initiative, which began at the end of the miniseries Absolute Power. This setup was then further explored in the DC All-In special. Put another way, the Absolute Universe is not an autonomous setting. It's connected with the mainstream universe through the reintroduction of Darkseid as a connecting element. Now, I don't want to sound like a Mr. Poopy Pants who dislikes someone taking a character and putting a conceptual spin on them. That approach can lead to some interesting results. The majority of Alan Moore's early career was doing exactly that, and this led to some classic stories. In more modern times, Jeff Johns and his 2 Rebirth series for Green Lantern and The Flash had a spiritually similar approach. That is, the past was integrated and explained, while trying to find a new direction for the character. So a conceptual spin can be a worthwhile pursuit. Can that be said about Absolute Batman? Unfortunately, not really. The implication, from interviews and various press bits, was that this version of Batman wouldn't be reliant on the elements that made him popular. Quote, "Fans will be introduced to a version of the Dark Knight that doesn't have the money, mansion, or butler of his core line counterpart." Unquote. But all those recognizable elements are present. Well, okay, the mansion doesn't seem to exist, but Alfred has a substantial role, and Bruce Wayne is an architect who has designed buildings for Gotham. For those that might not know, architects aren't known for being poor, especially ones that get employment from large cities. So worst case scenario, Bruce Wayne is a millionaire, not a multi-billionaire. That's hardly someone who doesn't have money. Returning to Alfred, he's an operative for some shady organization, probably the Court of Owls, since this is Snyder, but that's a complete guess on my part. So he's not a faithful butler who raised Bruce Wayne, but the odds are good he'll become an ally at some point. James Gordon also exists, although he's Gotham's mayor after a popular term as commissioner. Waylon Jones, aka Killer Croc, is also there, as is Black Mask. And in one panel, it suggested Poison Ivy, Catwoman, and possibly the Riddler were all childhood friends of Bruce Wayne. And of course, there's the Joker, all of whom have yet to be developed. So it's not like Absolute Batman is straying too far from the setting and characters that made him popular. Overall, it's not really a spin on the character, it's more like a slight tilt and a quarter turn. In my opinion, it's a safe alternate version. It doesn't take the character out of the comfort zone that fans have come to appreciate over the years. Looking at the design, again, it doesn't stray from the iconic look. Now the cape appears to be a functional element, as is the emblem and the ears, so the costume is a tad more utilitarian. The comically large emblem also doubles as a weapon, which is definitely a choice. These additions imply that Batman isn't afraid to cause a little maiming to get his point across. But like the mainstream Batman, he seems to draw the line at outright murder. Dragotta is a very capable artist, and that is certainly on display here. In my opinion, he was slightly channeling Frank Miller and Klaus Janson through the issue, giving it a Dark Knight Returns vibe. I don't think that was accidental due to the numerous panels per page and the brief inserts of television broadcasts. It's not as hectic as the original, and it doesn't feel like an information dump, but it is effective. In all fairness, this evaluation is based on exactly one issue, which isn't enough to say whether a title is a worthwhile read. A debut issue has a lot of heavy lifting to do, and Snyder does deliver in that respect. Personally, I found it a curiosity more than anything. I read it to see if there was anything radical and new being offered, and there really wasn't. I couldn't help comparing this new series with other recent adaptations done for the Joker and the Penguin. Both are completely different mediums, so a comparison might not be fair. Regardless, both are substantially different looks at 2 major villains. Sure, one's enjoyment of either is based on one's taste and preference, but one can't deny the core of each character exists in some manner, while also giving the audience something fresh to consider. It's that freshness that seems to be missing in Absolute Batman. In the end, Absolute Batman is a solid okay in relation to other Batman titles. It will likely take another 3 or so issues to determine whether it's a series that has legs, or whether it's a curiosity that will fade out after the inevitable crossover event between the Absolute Universe and the mainstream DC Universe. I hope no one minds if I take a moment at the end here and acknowledge all the support and kind words that I've received due to a recent announcement I made. So far, the community has humbled me with their support. I've received some gestures of kindness that I'm not sure I deserve. Comic Drake in particular reached out and was very generous with his time and advice. Thank you. All of these responses have definitely reinvigorated me and has made me focus on trying my absolute best to live up to that generosity. I may still be in a hole, that is just reality, but I'm not struggling as much to get out of it now. There's still a lot of work to be done, but for the moment, there's room for optimism. I genuinely thank you all. If I could, I would do it individually. Special thanks to all my fine supporters on YouTube and Patreon. You make it possible for this channel to continue on. I cannot thank you enough. I really can't. Extra special thanks to Salmonella13, Eidolon, Constant Disappointment Records, Michael Rookard, Jeff Nicholson, Sick N, Francis De La Cruz, Chris Malloy, Michael DeFonte, Andrew Barton, Odin Ashcroft, Ruby St. Dennis, Phil Sagan, Corey Drew, L.S. Greger, Brian Deaton, Tom Granis, James Graham, and Matt Marino. You are all justified and ancient. Until next time, and there will be a next time.